All right, that's enough of that. Oh, man. Acknowledge, if you will, the fallout that was my live experience from the biggest event of the summer. That was Summerslam, where we had betrayal, we had defeats, we had upsets, new champions, and the return of the original tribal chief. There's so much more to be discussed in this special return back to a former platform I chose to bring, in which I give you my takeaway on, simply put, a simple take. Welcome to the discussion. Hello, everybody. Been a long time since I've actually done this, originally on my own, let alone on this YouTube channel, but I figure, why not? It was a live experience. Welcome to A Simple Take, my simple platform where I give my own review on the latest in and outs of professional wrestling. And since I was live at SummerSlam, I figured this was the perfect time to do a special one-off simple take, to say the least. So why the heck not? For those that don't know, I am nothing more but a simple man, a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. My name is Noah Foster. Welcome to A Simple Take for WWE SummerSlam. Please subscribe, comment, tell a friend to know when content goes live on demand on this channel at any time, as I am proud partner here at the Japanese Network, Multiverse Media, who again, all of you make this possible. On behalf of Multiverse Media, we thank you. And we have a stacked agenda to discuss here. I want to give a shout out to my WWE analysts and, of course, his compadres who, of course, called the show in my absence. Bruv, good to see you. Shout out to the Renegade Wrestling, JJ Williams. Daniel, good to see you as well. And, of course, you think this may be the only time you see me tonight. Probably not, considering what the Gemini Motives Media has on tap this week. And I'm sure Meech's musings, the man whose name's not on my marquee right now, we'll talk about later. But without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get right into it too, shall we? So for those that don't know, Simple Take is my takeaways and giving you a simple rundown of what happened in regards to the show we're going to discuss. And today, I figure we discuss the biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam. Emanating, of course, from Cleveland, Ohio, the Cleveland Browns Stadium. Of course, I was there live amongst 57,000 plus other people. And it was stacked and loud in the dog pound, as they call it, home of the Cleveland Browns. Want to get a shout out to the Cleveland companion, Josh Mansfield, real quick. It was good to see him once again. Good to know he's still in high spirits and hope he continues to do well and all he chooses to pursue. And absolute shout out to fellow content creator, Sienna Chanel. Please follow her, folks, on all the social media platforms. Wonderful to finally engage her and see her in person. For, of course, we are ATW, and we look and acknowledge all things professional wrestling, too. What's up, Brando? All right, folks, so let's go ahead and get into it. Prior to the show, of course, Jelly Roll performed God Bless America, which I thought was very noble for a man of Christian values, and the flyover was very nice. And, of course, he opened up things at the Triple H welcome us into SummerSlam in what is the second of the biggest premium live events he has hosted now in the Paul Triple H Levesque era. And, again, Triple H, thank you for everything you've done for WWE. And we went to Jelly Roll, who performed live and brought us into the show, and we kicked things off with brutality. Both physically and emotionally, for being perfectly honest. Let's go ahead and look back a little bit at Mommy. Rhea Ripley taking on Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's World Heavyweight Championship. Boy, that's a mouthful. So, of course, simply put, at the beginning of the match, we saw Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio come out together, and Liv Morgan came out as follows. And, of course, we also heard how Liv Morgan has been saying, watch me, as she's been on this Liv Morgan Revenge tour. And Rhea Ripley said she was going to end Liv Morgan's career. But I think everybody pretty much had an idea where the story was going. But I like the way they went towards that. Of course, it was physical, brutal, and mental. Both these women were outsmarting each other at one point, but a key moment was when Liv Morgan tried to exploit the formerly repaired, injured shoulder that at one point Rhea Ripley pushed in place by force, pushing it forward to the announce table, shades what Shayna Baszler did with the ring post against Ember Moon back in NXT TakeOver New Orleans. In fact, she did it twice, including one time against the very turnbuckle pads in the ring. At one point, Liv Morgan was going for the Juji Gatami cross-arm breaker, but was unable to fully hyperextend it. And Liv Morgan really didn't expose any vulnerable weaknesses in her own physical game, which I gotta give credit's due for the champion. As Dominic Mysterio, of course, was there in his mommy's corner, at one point taking a bullet for her. Things really escalated, though, after we finally hit a riptide off the corner just for a statement setup, and another riptide counter into a DDT. Again, goes to show how much Liv Morgan actually knows Rhea Ripley. As we continued through this match, she was looking for a balloon, but was able to hit it, and finally, Rhea Ripley unleashed a whole nother level of anger and ferocity, hitting the Riptide for the nearest fall of the match. At this point, Liv Morgan was desperate to hold on to her championship and culminate her revenge tour, taking everything away from Rhea Ripley, to the point she brought a chair into play for Rhea to use against her, to let emotions be Rhea's downfall. Donna Mysterio, of course, stopped Rhea from using the chair and said, "You will get disqualified. You can't win the championship that way." And this was the real turning point here as Liv went for an advanced roll-up to try and take advantage. In the end, though, Dom Mysterio shared what happened at King of Queen in the ring, distracted the referee while the chair was brought back into play, and allowed Liv to use it to set up for an oblivion head first on the chair. And Liv Morgan pinned Rhea Ripley 1, 2, 3. And Liv Morgan not only culminated her revenge tour retaining the Women's Heavyweight Championship, but she got her man, Mommy's boy. He lied, he cheated, he stole like Eddie Guerrero. Orderly. Boy, when Michael Cole said, "You two-timing, two-faced, no good son of a bitch," and McAfee took it a step further by saying this piece of shit, you could tell how raw this actually felt while we're trying to make Raw from our edge ahead of Netflix. The sheer amount of volume of gasp I heard around me when that kiss was emanating on that monitor screen and I saw it live was downright ridiculous. Like the air got sucked out of the arena and then turned to full, I would say, blood-filled vengeance on behalf of Mommy, on behalf of Cleveland Brown Stadium. As, of course, Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio, they walked out on their own accord, flipping off the WWE Universe on their way out. Liv Morgan's revenge tour has been completed. She's taken everything now from Rhea Ripley. But what is Rhea Ripley going to do in the forthcoming future to take everything from her and then some with interest? I really liked how the story played out here because I do feel like, again, we're reaching this point knowing that Rhea Ripley is going to be the top babyface of Monday Night Raw going forward. And everybody loves Mommy, but for the first time ever, we're looking at Mommy not on top. She's at the bottom. And Donna Mysterio played as accomplished. It's one of those things also when a parent's child decides to act out on their own and think that they're too good for what they've been given. I would still argue to say that Rhea Ripley brought Donna Mysterio to where he is now. And Dominic's like, "Okay, Mommy, you're old news. She gets me. Liv Morgan gives me what I want now." I guess we'll see what happens now on Monday Night Raw with the fallout, as Rhea was left heartbroken and with a twisted smile of disbelief and absolute fury. Dominic Mysterio is a dead man walking, and he'll wish that Rhea Ripley was the least of his worries, in my opinion. But I really enjoyed this match. Definitely, again, the best match Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley have had in their ongoing storytelling rivalry that has been pretty close to 2 years now when you think about when this all first started. And again, Liv Morgan was the last person to actually pin Rhea Ripley. And she kept the trend. So congratulations, Liv Morgan, on retaining the WWE Women's Heavyweight Championship. And I guess Donna Mysterio, I guess she got a new woman. We'll see how much she watches you and protects you. Yeesh. And a good note here by the Renegade. Apparently, Dom, Liv, Finn, and JD all ride to the arena together for tonight's show. Watch what happens there, folks. But overall, it was a good match. I feel very bad for Rhea Ripley. And JJ, I got some pics, by the way, of Mommy, if you want me to send them to you for Natalie. Just saying. But I really enjoyed this match, and I thought it was a great way to kick off the show, if I'm being perfectly honest. All right. Well, as we move on from there, before we get to our next match, and we do see, of course, backstage segments, folks, on the Titantrons there, in case you're wondering. We saw Carlito as, of course, he was worried about Damian Priest and what he was going to think about this. And he was asking where Dom was and asked Finn, "Did you know about this?" Finn says, "You really asked me that?" "No, of course I didn't know." As Finn, JD, and Carlito went off to try look for Dom and probably counsel Rhea Ripley, as Corey Graves was doing after the match. We didn't see that at all, by the way. Of course, Damian Priest had bigger things to worry about, preparing for his World Heavyweight Championship match. And I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later, especially with Bad Blood on the horizon. As we move forward from there, though, we go into the second match of the night, where we look to see if the dog, and all the dogs were out in the dog pound. How fitting, by the way, Cleveland Brown Stadium. We had the Intercontinental Championship on the line, as Sami Zayn defended the gold once again against Braun Breaker. Now, let's be honest here. If there was one match everyone was going to call correctly, it was going to be this one. It was Braun Breaker's moment. It was Braun Breaker's time, right? But Sami Zayn, again, he did outsmart Braun, literally out the gate, preventing him from hitting him with that spear. Went for broke near the going, but Braun Breaker's speed, agility, and athleticism conquered in the end, including that ridiculous Frankenstein you guys see to believe, sending Sami Zayn back into the other time zone. Maybe he figured out where El Generico is. Still don't know what that guy is. As Braun Breaker was able to culminate this little over 5-minute match. It was 5 minutes and some odd seconds, folks. So if you guessed over, by the way, in Predictions League, good job. You got the bonus point. And I will update the Predictions League after my watch of Monday Night Raw tonight. I promise you. But Braun Breaker, son of a Steiner, why Rick and Scott Steiner were in a Legends Lounge, which apparently will be a new constant now in WWE. Respect. Braun Breaker is your new WWE Intercontinental Champion. Not much more to be said here. I mean, again, people thought the moment's going to be at Money in the Bank, but I think it also was kind of poetic to see the first opportunity presented to Braun Breaker. He got to showcase what he's capable of on a grander stage, and he delivered. Now, I didn't watch all the post-show, but I did see bits of Braun Breaker live at the post-show lobby, and I did overhear, thanks to a monitor, Wade Barrett asking a very prominent question that Braun Breaker was asking himself. Is he just another guy, or can he be a top guy? And apparently Braun Breaker found that answer, and he even thanked Sami Zayn for proving that for him, because, again, it takes two to dance. As Sami Zayn was a phenomenal 4-time WWE Intercontinental Champion that allowed Braun Breaker this opportunity when he was looking for opportunity in the first place. Braun Breaker now will be the new workhorse and the new top dog to deal with on Monday Night Raw. With people that have been in his past, like Ricochet, who's still MIA. With Ilya Dragunov, who's still probably coming back from a concussion protocol, for being honest. With Jey Uso, that last tad with Sami Zayn. There's definitely a number of candidates I could see challenging Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. And I'd be happy to hear what you all have to say as well. Shout out to Walter Cruz, another great commentary friend here at the Multiverse of Media. By the way, Walter, James, Jeff, JJ, I saw what y'all did in and out. I saw bits of it. You all did a great job, and it sounded like y'all had a nice, fun time. I missed calling it with y'all, but it was absolutely wonderful seeing it live. And again, folks, you can go check that out in the archive. Shout out to Rage of Wrestling. But again, to me, the Intercontinental Championship is one of the most important titles in WWE. It represents that workhorse ethic of a professional wrestler, and it demonstrates the value of a champion looking towards maybe a bigger prize down the line with how far he elevates this division. And Sami Zayn, he was the guy to pass the torch to Braun Breaker at the biggest event of the summer. Enough said. But it does make me wonder, is there plans for Sami Zayn now to take some time off, considering he's been nonstop? Or is he going to be part of another storyline we may talk about when we get to the main event? Or is he going to go back after Braun Breaker? Considering, again, champions do usually have a rematch clause. So I'm very curious to see what's ahead for the Intercontinental Championship. And could we find out the next challenger as soon as tonight's Monday Night Raw, the fallout after SummerSlam? Only time will tell. But I'm very curious to see what happens. I think Braun Breaker winning here was the right call. Because if he didn't win here, then what does that do for this man's career? It was Braun Breaker's moment. It was Braun Breaker's time. The numbers don't lie. And I'm not doing Steiner math. Steiner math was not needed here. Thank you, Sami Zayn. Congratulations to Braun Breaker, the new WWE Intercontinental Champion, and the first title change of the night. And there's one of my horsemen of predictions. Shout out to Mark Griffith. And again, foretelling of the future, brother, you very well might be right. And of course, Walter Cruz also echoes that with you. But that being said, before I let these guys talk more about the bloodline storyline escalated after the main event that was Saturday night, let me talk to you. Because the next match, of course, it was the Maverick Logan Paul coming back home to Cleveland, defending his United States Championship with his own security, as well as Machine Gun Kelly in his corner. That was a unique choice. But of course, it was more about nothing else, not Prime. It was about the United States Championship being defended against the person with everybody saying, L.A. Knight. Ah! And of course, he rolled up inside that Hummer. There it is. He rolled up inside that Hummer and smashed those windows. I don't know why you need windows that dark tinted either, Logan. I don't know how you even see out of that. I think Logan Paul, botch. I think LA Knight did Logan Paul a favor there in doing that, being perfectly honest. Anyway, this match, Hot and Furious out of the gate. Machine Gun Kelly scoring Logan Paul down the ring with some goons. I have no idea who they are. They're probably less relevant than Practical Jokers. As LA Knight came down, the brawling started all around the ringside area before the bell even rang. Logan Paul with the cheap shot, LA Knight getting the advantage. And of course, the entire stadium was saying, yeah, every time his head was being bashed off that announce table. Not to mention the fact that he literally took a shot of Prime and then shot it back into Logan Paul's face. And good call there, except without a bulldozer or thing dropped on top of it. I wonder if he's got a bulldozer license. I literally echoed that sentiment too. Crimea River, right? As action finally got in the way inside the ring, though, Logan Paul did try to take advantage, but it was a lot of back and forth. And of course, LA Knight at times was able to outsmart Logan Paul. At one point, though, it looked like they were going to go for broken that announce table. I wasn't sure what LA Knight was planning. I thought it was going to be a burning hammer. Instead, I figured it was more of a TKO, and the table didn't break. I am the table. As this match continued to go forward down the line, both men were jockeying for either that one lucky punch or that BFT. Neither man were able to connect at any point. The biggest moment of the match, though, for me was definitely that avalanche muscle buster modified superplex of sorts where I thought LA Knight had Logan Paul dead to rights. As Logan Paul rode to the outside and was looking for that support, that aid of those goons, LA Knight neutralized two of them, which I was very happy about, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And then Logan Paul took advantage of the cheap shot from behind as Machine Gun Kelly allowed him a piece of his jewelry that looked very similar to brass knuckles. And as he went for that cheap shot after LA Knight survived the one lucky shot earlier in the match, I thought legitimately he KO'd LA Knight again, but I guess LA was able to block some of it, or Logan Paul didn't get enough of it. As he looked for that Logan slingshot lariat, LA Knight faked him out, caught him. A BFT led to a 1, 2, 3, and a new face for the USA in LA Knight. And I love the fact that Biggie mentioned his ups and downs. Sean Ricker, Dupree, and all that stuff during the post show. Biggie right now is my favorite post show analyst. But going back to this, phenomenal moment. So damn happy to finally see this title off Logan Paul, the Maverick, because way too part time in my opinion. I don't care for part time champions. Never have, never will. But I also appreciate the journey and the rise of LA Knight over the year here in WWE. It's one of those things where I look at LA Knight and he seems very humble, but he still has that cocky nature. You even hear it in his post-show conference that I'm now the megastar, but now this is the story, this is the genesis, this is the rise of the legend that is LA Knight. Apparently, he was also talking a lot of F-bombs too in his moment. Can't say I don't blame him. And I guess Logan Paul, while he looked a little bit dejected, is going to be some good time off for him. And again, I will give credit due, especially that ridiculous turnaround springboard moonsault to the outside that Triple H didn't know how to call that flippy move. It's okay, Hunter. I got you. But for somebody that may be a questionable human being and moral value, especially when you look at social media, he is a phenomenal in-ring athlete. And the fact that he hasn't been doing like a lot of boxing and stuff like that and wants to be more dedicated towards what he does in WWE as a W superstar, I think goes to the merit. And you got to get credit where credit's due. You got to separate the character sometimes from the person and vice versa. And that's really how I look at this business. Because, again, I'm a fan. I'm not an analyst. I'm not paid to do this shit. I just love to follow this stuff for all art forms and all companies and all rising athletes or veteran athletes, as long as they demonstrate what brought them to the dance in the first place out of respect for the sport and those they're in the ring with. And I think you look at LA Knight and Logan Paul's chemistry, both in ring and on mic, it really worked out for great storytelling. I think it was inevitable that we all knew that Logan Paul was going to drop the United States Championship to LA Knight. It was just a matter of where and when. If they didn't go with AJ versus LA at WrestleMania, I think this could have happened at WrestleMania. But again, for a show that feels like it's got as much fallout as WrestleMania, if not more, I think this is a very fitting stage. So congratulations to LA Knight, who's now the United States champion. That being said, we got a new face of the USA in LA Knight. So who do we want to confront the megastar, the rising legend first? Do we want it to be him? Do we want it to be Andrade? Do we want it to be, good Lord Almighty, who else is on the SmackDown roster? It's so difficult sometimes to keep track of people. You know what I mean? You want to see him get jaw jacked by Austin Fury and drop Austin Fury and see if Austin Fury can actually, say that he made the United States title more relevant than Logan Paul and LA Knight. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what happens. Giovanni Vinci hasn't had nothing to do. And again, United States title is opportunity. We'll see how LA Knight presents the opportunity, who he thinks may be worthy. He doesn't really have no names out there that he is looking for to come at him. He just says whoever wants them, come and get it. But it's nice to see the United States Championship now be politically featured on SmackDown. It got the exposure it needed mainstream. Good. Now you need to make it matter more in WWE particularly. LA Knight's the guy to do that. And that's not an insult. That's just a fact of life. Congratulations to LA Knight. Was very happy to see this result. As we move forward through this card, and this was the bridge point here, we go into our next match for the WWE Women's Championship with one of the workhorses of WWE in Bayley, of course, defending this title against Queen Nia Jax. That's a good idea, Walter. We'll have to wait and see if that actually happens. The power of the punch, William Regal. You crazy. Anyway, okay. First off, I'm not going to lie. People were leaving in droves across the entire stadium when this match was about to come to light. Now, I think it was two reasons. One, you need a break. Because, again, the show was 4 hours long, and people have been sitting in their seats since 6:30 p.m. Standard Time. Two, I do think there's a lot of detractors to Nia Jax and Queen Nia. And it could be for personal bias. It could just be that maybe you don't appreciate her as a competitor. It could just be that people didn't give doodly squat about this title. You be the judge. But to echo Walter Cruz's settlement, this arguably was Nia Jax's best, most competitive match. Let's just put it out there. As Queen Nia has been on a journey of redemption in a way, led and further enticed by Bayley and calling her clumsy and reckless, which I think added to the storyline and the settlement. A very back and forth bout here of power versus technique. At one point, Bayley hoisting up Nia Jax for a power bomb. Good grief, give Bayley some freaking credit due. That woman has some incredible strength. And I think Bayley's also underrated in what she brought forward, holding this title and being the one to pass it off to Nia Jax, considering the long-term history. Nia Jax was one of Bayley's very first opponents in rivalries when Bayley was the NXT Women's Championship. So that's how far the chemistry and the history goes with these two. That being said, there was some moments here that was a little bit, they were wherever they were, tossed to the side, maybe a misplaced landing. Nia almost hurt her hold more than twice, especially with leg drops on the apron and a big annihilator at one point out of the corner missing. When she hit that first annihilator, I thought she literally ended Bayley. I thought that was it. But kudos to how far they pushed out the match to Bayley kicking out. As Bayley was able to hit a bit of the belly at one point, was able to get a near fall, still was able to put down the irresistible force. Things picked up, though, when it was Tiffy time, and I was figuring for a moment we were going to get a repeat of last year with a Money in the Bank cash-in. But it was more about strategy and planning on behalf of Nia and Tiffany, I think, than actually cashing in the briefcase. For now, considering it just came out. Duh. But that being said, at the end of it all, Nia was apoplectic the fact she has not been able to put Bayley down yet, as Bayley went for a Rose plan, was able to hit it with a couple of ridiculous annihilators out of the corner, almost a bonsai drop like Yokozuna, folks, in case you don't know what that is. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner and new WWE Women's Champion, the Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax, alongside endorsed by Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton. No cash-in happened. I will say this. It's going to be interesting to see what Nia Jax does now as a champion in this era of WWE. And with Tiffany Stratton, not only with that briefcase as leverage, but the trust of Nia, I think it could build a very unique story where Tiffany might be the one to take down Nia before Charlotte Flair gets a chance to, because let's be honest, Charlotte Flair has a receipt waiting for her from Nia and vice versa after that one-time shoot. But for Bayley being dejected backstage with Meacham, something tells me they still might roll with Bayley a little longer, or Meacham as a subplot, considering Bash the Berlin's right around the corner. And I don't think necessarily there's any bad blood with Nia Jax and Bayley at this point. It just comes down to probably Bayley was the best person to work with Nia since Becky. And I gotta get credit's due. Again, since this return for Nia Jax, she really has improved in ring. You gotta get credit where credit's due. First one, Queen of the Ring, and now she is a WWE Women's Champion. She's champion for the first time as a singles champion since WrestleMania 34. That was 6 years ago, folks. And again, we talked about trying to reset the women's division, trying to build more single stars, trying to build maybe competition. I think everyone's waiting for Tiffany time, but Tiffany Stratton right now has the merchandise, she has the look, and she has that connection. She doesn't need the title right now. For Nia, if she didn't win this title, it would almost mean like all of her work was for naught. Why my heart went to Bailey, my mind obviously went with Nia Jax in this result, and I'm glad that I was right because I'm all about people with a redemption story getting back to that promise of they actually belong in this business. You can tell how emotional Nia was too, embracing her mother at ringside. So, congratulations to the irresistible force. And Bailey, thank you. I'm very curious though what the role model does now, leading by example as she does. Now she's no longer champion. How does she bounce back from this? Maybe we'll find out on SmackDown at the soonest. But congratulations to Nia Jax. And as we had a bit of lull getting ready for the second half of our show, of course, we saw Damian Priest getting warmed up for the World Heavyweight Championship match. And Finn Balor came into frame to remind him, water under the bridge. Don't worry about what happened earlier. As Damian Priest is saying, it was out of line how he reacted. And I could just tell during that subtle face-to-face, this was a setup of cause and effect and things to come. But we're not quite there yet because hell has froze over. And of course, we're welcoming back the in-ring singles return of one CM Punk taking on Drew McIntyre with special guest referee. Shout out to the fact he was using 1997 referee apparel and mannerisms. Hello. Seth freaking Rollins taking on the vengeful Drew McIntyre. Okay, so like I said, in WWE this day and age, it's not just about result, it's about the story. And the balance of great in-ring wrestling versus very unique, polarizing, competitive storytelling was definitely on point here during SummerSlam. And this match was another effective demonstration of that. Out of the gate, of course, CM Punk champion out during Drew McIntyre's theme and entrance. And of course, he was confronting Seth Rollins as they were looking at each other face to face. And then CM Punk's music hit. The place exploded. You had coded personality being sung along by everybody, including me. As CM Punk came out, and of course, Drew McIntyre reminded what he had on his wrist. Family was with him the entire time. By the way, shout out to Stephanie McMahon, that was also there at SummerSlam, embracing the Second City Saint at ringside. And Seth Rollins was breaking down the rules. What rules of? The match was underway. And it pretty much happened the way I expected. He literally let chaos ran roughshod. At one point, we had literally a catapult into the steel railing that braced the ring at one point underneath, as Seth was giving the slowest 10 I can remember and just relaxing across the top turnbuckle, shades of John Gargano and Shawn Michaels, if we're being perfectly honest. I do agree about that. I will say one thing about WWE, Death Rebel still sucks mostly for me. As this match continued, though, it was great back and forth. The slowest 3 counts you can remember him trying to get in position on both men's behalfs, quote unquote. At one point, Drew McIntyre sent to the timekeeper area by Samantha Urban, and a chair was about to come into play, but Seth was going to have none of it. Then Drew McIntyre saying, this is our mortal enemy. He's the enemy. You and I have this respect. Let me take him out. Reluctantly, Seth looked like he was going to let that fly, but then he took the chair back. So I figure it's one of those things where Seth, at the end of the day, he wanted Drew maybe to win on his own accord, but he also maybe didn't want to see Drew McIntyre injure CM Punk. And might I add, he did use that Future Shock DDT, the very move that injured CM Punk and his tricep in the first place. A little callback for you. It's one of those things where I think Seth was a little impartial still because he could relate to CM Punk a little bit, but he still hates the man's guts. Actions have consequences, of course. And shout out to Walter here with this comment, especially the fact that he introduced CM Punk and broke his dreams of main eventing WrestleMania. All fits, he can say, I'm breaking everyone's dreams, make it part of his own character. And that's really been the evolution of Drew McIntyre, who, again, been looking for that receipt ever since WrestleMania, only escalate after what happened at Clash of the Castle and Money in the Bank. As this match continued back and forth, at one point, CM Punk had the Anaconda Vice on Drew McIntyre, but he was not tapping out. And things really escalated during that moment where CM Punk didn't think about the win. He was thinking about the symbol of his family on McIntyre's wrist, ripping it off any way possible to take it off of him. And he did. But at one point, Drew McIntyre got the better of him with a Claymore, and Seth counted a near fall that drove Drew up a wall. We finally did get, of course, all the CM Punk moves. We got the top rope elbow drop, and we even got a GTS. But as CM Punk looked like he was about to win, he noticed on Seth Rollins' wrist that very bracelet. And right there, that's when I knew Drew McIntyre was winning because CM Punk was not focusing on the match. He was focusing on his family. That being said, the fact of the matter, though, that Seth Rollins put it on his wrist, not in his pocket, like most refs do, whether they throw stuff into their pocket or, they throw stuff out of the ring, I think added more to the story that we're going to get CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins sooner rather than later. But rage can blind a man. And the fact of the matter is, that's what happened, to the point he put his hands on the official, and then he also put Seth freaking Rollins to sleep, saying quite prophetically, "It's sometimes about me, but it is never about you." As he finally got that bracelet back, Drew McIntyre, though, a receipt from Clash of the Castle. Low blow, Claymore, Seth regathers himself, Drew pleading him to count the damn 3. And at the end of the day, Drew McIntyre got the 3 count on CM Punk, courtesy of Seth friggin' Rollins. Actions have consequences, redemption found, revenge seeked, and family once again gained. Back on Drew McIntyre's wrist. For what the match was, it wasn't one of those classics. It didn't feel like, Rock, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, because I do think Seth showed a lot more impartial nature before CM Punk literally got up in his face and touched him. I thought it was a good story told. And again, Bad Blood, where we go from here? Seth friggin' Rollins technically cost CM Punk here. CM Punk lost to Drew McIntyre. Do you get CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre now at Hell in the Cell at Bad Blood? Do you get Seth freaking Rollins versus CM Punk maybe in the meantime, because CM Punk will hold Seth freaking Rollins responsible, but it was CM Punk that lost the focus? I'm very curious to see where this goes, and I think for Drew, he's done with CM Punk. He feels relieved. He feels redeemed. He feels free at this point. But CM Punk is not going to let that slide. And while he and Wade Barrymore went to the pub afterwards and enjoyed drinks, there's no way these 3 in general are done with each other. And in what way do we get the triple threat? Do we add some sort of circumstance with it? Like number 1 contendership towards the World Heavyweight Championship, which obviously got to be on all 3 men's minds, if you're being perfectly honest. But I do think at one point that needs to happen. But I think you still need to try and finish the story with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, or start the story with CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins in ring with a match. But I think that has to be some point part of this equation, Walter. I'm just not sure where. But overall, it was great to see CM Punk. Still didn't really lose anything, considering he has had a singles match in WWE since 2013. But I really enjoyed this match for what it was. This fight told the story. I wanted to get the story from this, and that's what I got. And overall, hey, anytime I could sing Cold Personality, it's a good time for me. But also, again, Seth Rollins, does he have a way now towards the World Heavyweight Championship? Is CM Punk going to make sure that Seth is never a champion again? We'll have to see really where revenge falls from here. Whose vengeance will be at the hands of the Second City Saint next? We'll see. As we move on from there, we go to our semi. I'm just going to say this real quick. Why did I see an advertisement for Manscaped with Otis? I hope I never see that again. Sponsorship aside, that's going to scar me for life. God. Anyway, moving on from there, we go into our semi-main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. El Campeón Damian Priest defends against the Lingral Gunther. Now, this for me was the number 1 match I could not wait to see live for so many reasons. For those that don't know, I've been a lifelong fan of Walter Gunther since Ring Comp and his work done in Progress Wrestling and WXW, where he had wars with the likes of Keith Lee, Minoru Suzuki, Will Ospreay, you name it. Again, the longest reigning NXT UK champion, longest reigning WWE Intercontinental champion. Last year, he beat Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship, successfully defended. And this year, he took on Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. Everything about this night told me that it had to be Gunther's time, only escalated by the compelling story of Judgment Day, for the Judgment Day is coming. As I have been saying, both of these men were out to prove a point. We consider how far both men have physically and mentally grown in this business to reach this stage in WWE as main event players. Anyway, as this match started off, of course, we had chops galore with Damian Priest and Gunther, but since the last time I can remember, this is the first time I remember Gunther's chest being cut open at some point, blood vessels rising. And I think that only escalated Gunther's rage against Damian Priest and bringing more out of him. Both champion and challenger pushing each other to their absolute physical limits. At one point, Damian Priest was able to hit a, what's it called? South of Heaven for a near fall. And then, of course, that dinosaur-like drop kick by Gunther dropped Damian Priest back to Puerto Rico. By the way, shout out to El Campeon. Great documentary, by the way. Go check it out, folks. And this match continued down the stretch. Incredible back and forth. Both men. This was just a physical onslaught. There really wasn't no submissions brought into play till towards the end. And I say that because things really picked up towards the end after Damian Priest showed us how far he was willing to not only take chops but stop them and try and kick Gunther's head off. Here comes Finn Balor to further support El Campeon, or so it seemed. Down the stretch, of course, after a superplex spot, and of course, we fought after a flurry of offense, and Damian Priest was able to hit one last emphatic South of Heaven, followed by a Razor's Edge for the win. It was Finn Balor that got Gunther's foot on the rope for the rope break. The thing is, though, Damian Priest wasn't aware of it at first. Then they showed the replay on one of the two giant Titantrons off to the side of the stadium. And then Damian Priest sees this as Finn Balor looks up, seriously smiles, turns around, shows that evil grimace then on his face towards Damian Priest, who couldn't believe it. As he was trying to go after him, he took his eyes off his challenger, and Gunther was able to trap him into a submission. Sleeper hold, rear naked choke, down the middle of the ring. To Damian Priest's credit, he did not die. He did not go out. Even at one point, seeing Finn Balor thinking that this is it for him, he was able to roll through, put the shoulders down, nearly catch Gunther in his own submission hold for a near fall. And as he was able to create separation, and Finn Balor was absolutely upset about this, he went after him, Damian Priest did, with rage in his eyes, and like rage I've ever seen before. And then Gunther was able to travel once again from behind with another emphatic power bomb into the follow-up submission, able to knock the wind out of him. Damian Priest still trying to fight back. Corey Graves, I was watching a bit of the replay during my bus ride back, 3-hour bus ride, folks. And of course, we saw finally El Campeon's Judgment Day arrived, and he fell to the Ring General Gunther, incapacitated. And finally, the match is truly sacred, and so is Monday Night Raw, with a brand new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther, who embraced, of course, his wife, former NXT UK superstar Ginny, at ringside. That was a lovely touch. To see Gunther's culminating championship moment is something I'll treasure for my life, considering how much I followed this athlete. That was wonderful to see. But let's be honest here. Monday Night Raw has literally been the Judgment Day show for the past 2 years plus, all right? Something had to give, something had to change. If they started with a cause with Dominic's betrayal, embracing Liv Morgan and screwing his mommy, then the effect had to be the aftermath. Again, Finn Balor was the one that grabbed that hotel card in the past. Just saying, don't think they were having cinemas in the closet when they met in that hotel room secretly. Finn Balor had to be the guy to screw Damian Priest. It's been stewing over for months now. We saw this really come forward to the point that literally Damian Priest and Finn Balor were almost questioning each other's trust in the very beginning of the show. This had to set up the fall of El Campeon, and this had to set up the next saga of Judgment Day. I guess being led now by Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan. I don't know what Judgment Day becomes at this point. But overall, I really enjoyed this physical onslaught of a match. That was the most physical match of the night. And I think that Gunther being world champion was the right decision with everything he did. And also, he made King and Queen of the Ring truly matter with both the King and Queen of the Ring becoming champions. I think that was a really cool moment. So I'm very happy to see what happened for El Campeon, Damian Priest, in the rise and his journey. But I'm even more sad to see what Gunther now does to the world champion, especially when we head to Bash the Berlin. Well, again, screw jobs galore. This wasn't the only one. This was what? The second one? And of course, we'll see in the main event what happens shortly here. Well, that being said, let's go ahead and move into our main event, where I'm sure we got a lot to say, because what do I say always when it comes to the SmackDown World Championship, the Bloodline, and more particularly, Cody Rhodes? It is not about the result. It is about the story. Let's go ahead and talk about the main event, the undisputed WWE Championship, as the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes defended the gold against the wannabe Tribal Chief, his words, Solo Sikoa. First off, I want to say, Pharaoh, all the best to him. As again, Cody says the last match that Pharaoh will escort me to the ring. And we also, of course, had the return of the coach, Arn Anderson. I wonder if he still has that Glock, by the way. And as we waited for Cody to make his way into the ring, of course, Solo Sikoa first came out. And for those that think Solo Sikoa maybe is not yet a main event player, this was his first ever pay-per-view singles main event. I think he carried himself very well. That being said, this match, it was Bloodline rules, so you know what to expect. It was going to be long. It was going to be very hard and physical, far in storytelling. And it was also going to be one of those matches that was going to definitely tell the future for the time being. As we had, of course, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens come out down the line after the Tongas got involved and tried to help their tribal chief win. Again, anything goes. Both of these men went for broke, including they announced it with Jacob Fatu, I think, bringing his ankle. Hopefully he's not legitimately injured, but again, we'll see what happens, I'm sure, towards SmackDown. And Skulls Cole was able to scout Cody Rhodes quite well, actually, here. I was quite impressed by his efforts and performance. Cody put out all the stops, including Cody Cutter, Avalanche, Cody Cutter, Disaster Kick. Solo Sikoa, though, pulling out all the classic stops in the family with the hip attack, ridiculous far-away Samoan drops. But at the end of the day, Tonga Loa, again, I don't know if Tonga Loa is quite WWE ready. I think this is like, what, his third or fourth botch? Has anyone been keeping count besides me? I'm not sure. But as at one point, we literally had everybody neutralized, including Jacob 2 on the outside, and both men were down in the ring. We were wondering about it. We were figured about it. We were predicting about it. It happened. The OTC, the original tribal chief, returned emphatically. I'm pretty sure it was WrestleMania theme or a hybrid of it to WWE. Acknowledge that. And what was probably the loudest pop I've ever been part of at a wrestling show live, let alone the loudest moment I think I can ever remember hearing at a WWE event. As he came down, he started off slow, taking it in. He and Solo looked like they locked eyes as Cody Rhodes, of course, capacity against the steel ring steps, despite the fact Solo did the hip attack of the steel ring steps himself. And Cody was trying to gather his breath. And Roman emphatically came in with that Superman punch with as much malice as possible, and then set up Solo for that spear and broke him in half. Looking back subtly at Cody Rhodes, walked away. He nodded. Cody saw this. Cody looking back at Roman, hooked Solo one last time, an emphatic cross Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes is still undisputed WWE champion, while Roman watched on and, of course, pointed out this. We both know that Roman and Cody, they're going to collide again at some point. That was not for Cody. That was for the bloodline. That was for everything Solo has said and done. We've seen Roman return. Chances are he's going to be back on SmackDown. Is Paul Heyman and Jimmy Uso going to be shortly to follow? Is Jey Uso going to maybe follow very soon? Will we get Usos versus Guerrillas of Destiny? What's the future of the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships? Only time will truly tell. But one thing for sure, we are in for some incredibly interesting stuff and story developments in the fall of WWE all the way through Survivor Series War Games. And I gotta wonder, is Cody Rhodes going to finally fulfill his legacy against the Viper Randy Orton? Is Randy going to turn heel? Who's next to challenge Cody Rhodes confirmed at this point? Is the Bloodline going to leave Cody alone and focus on their internal turmoil? We're just going to have to wait and see. And, of course, continuing to play out throughout the entire night with Kingdom following this as well. But simply put, that was SummerSlam. And with that, I really enjoyed the show. Probably my greatest WWE live experience I ever had. And for a show that was only 7 matches long and 4 hours long, it told a whole lot. And I think still could have told a whole lot more if it was 2 nights. With how big WWE has gotten, it would not surprise me if both these shows become 2-night stands, all the big shows. But we're just going to have to wait and see here. That being said, we saw Solo screaming at ringside. I think he wants revenge, but who's going to be answered to first? Who's going to be acknowledged first this Friday night? We'll have to wait and see. But what was your overall takeaway of SummerSlam? Simply put, I thought it was an amazing show. You go ahead and give your answers, of course, in the comments or in my little simple pull of my community tab. But that's all I got for you for now regarding this subtle, simple take. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this. I don't know when I'll do this again because again, I do this because it was live and I was there live. And again, as I always like to encourage you, just your life and enjoy wrestling too. I'm going to leave you to the rest of your Monday, but thanks for tuning in to some simple thoughts, simple takeaways, simple, maybe foretelling of the future towards maybe what I think might be happening as we look at the fall of SummerSlam. Again, the Gemini Brothers Media will keep you covered this week with everything here. Walter Cruz apparently will see me tonight for Monday Night Raw, so I guess I'll see you guys here in a couple of hours or so too. We're covering Raw, we're covering SmackDown, we're covering all the wrestling this week here at the Multiverse of Media. But until next time, please subscribe, comment, tell a friend. And if you enjoyed this, as I always say, just enjoy life and enjoy wrestling too. Apparently, I'm needed by family, so I think for now, I'll bid you a fine adieu. Until next time, make a positive impact in life and have a good night. This has been a simple take on the biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam. It absolutely rocked, and Cleveland rocks always too. Have a good night, folks.